India's Director General of Military Operations, together with the Directors General of Navy and Air Force Operations, briefed the media this afternoon on a range of issues around Operation Sindoor and the counter from Pakistan, continuing to detail operations as they did on Sunday. First up, listen in to what the DG of Air Operations, Air Marshal A.K. Bharti, said.
दोस्तों, हमारी लड़ाई आतंकवाद और आतंकवादियों के खिलाफ थी। इसलिए 7 मई को हमने केवल आतंकवादी ठिकानों पर ही हमला किया था। पर अफसोस इस बात का है कि पाकिस्तानी सेना ने आतंकवादियों का साथ देना उचित समझा और इस लड़ाई को अपनी लड़ाई बना ली। इस परिस्थिति में हमारी जवाबी कार्यवाही अत्यंत आवश्यक थी और इसमें उनका जो भी नुकसान हुआ वे खुद इसके लिए जिम्मेदार हैं।
And here's how damage was kept to a minimum layered and integrated system with assets of all 3 services. That's what Air Marshal A.K. Bharti said, that it was layered and integrated system with assets of all 3 services. Now, Pakistan's offensive, it was fully countered by indigenously built defense systems, which India has, including Akash, which put up a stellar performance against all the drones and swarms of drones which came from Pakistan. And of course, full credit to all 3 services. Well, unwavering support of government and allocation to defense over the last decade. And this is what Air Marshal A.K. Bharti said in Pakistan's offensive, which was fully countered by India. Well, apart from this, Chinese and Turkish hardware were also used by Pakistan, which was shot down by India. We saw the PL15, the Chinese PL15 missiles, which were destroyed in India, and also Yahar drones of Turkish origin, which were also shot down. And the evidence, there was full proof which was given during the press briefing by the Indian Armed Forces. The DG Air Force Ops also presented visuals of India's attack on Pakistan's RYK base and on the runway of the Rahim Yar Khan base there.
And this is the aftermath of our strike at Rahim Yar Khan Air Base. You can see the massive crater that it has left on its runway. And you can see the pinpoint accuracy of our weapons.
DGMO Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai put out details of India's defense grid and systems and perhaps the role they played in countering missiles and drones from Pakistan. So let's now tell you about India's defense grid multi-layered counter-drone systems which were put in place. And he said that whenever on May 9th or May 10th, there was a multi-layered counter-drone system put in place, where on May 9th and May 10th, Pakistan tried to attack and they failed before the grid. Take a listen.
इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वॉरफेयर के साधन और एयर डिफेंस वेपन्स का इंडियन एयरफोर्स के इसी प्रकार के सिस्टम्स के साथ एक अनोखा मिश्रण किया गया। इसलिए आपने देखा कि जब जब पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स ने हमारे एयरफील्ड्स और लॉजिस्टिक इंस्टॉलेशंस में 9 और 10 मई की रात को लगातार हमले किए, वो इस मजबूत एयर डिफेंस ग्रिड के सामने विफल हो गए।
Let's also now see what was the Indian Navy's role in Operation Sindoor. The Indian Navy's Vice Admiral A.N. Pramod said that the Indian Navy's operational edge at sea played a decisive role in Pakistan's urgent request for ceasefire. Take a listen.
Our powerful carrier battle group with formidable offensive capability was able to operate with impunity and maintained an uncontested presence in the area of operations. Effectively, it compelled the Pakistani air elements to remain bottled up close to the Makran coast, denying any opportunity to be a threat in maritime space.
Officials gave a message of how this warfare was different, how Operation Sindoor was different, as well as India's readiness to put out a fierce and punitive message to Pakistan should the need arise again.
It's a cat and mouse game, and you have to be ahead of the curve to beat your adversary. So that is what is going to happen. So if you ask, was this different? Was this engagement different? Definitely it was different. And a lot of new aspects have come out, but we were prepared for it, we were trained for it, and we were equipped for it.
The Directors General stressed that Operation Sindoor is only the start of a state of continuous readiness and a warning to Pakistan that any action from its side will be countered with fierce action from India. Let's now tell you how India is alert and ready for any kind of future Pakistan aggression. All Indian military bases and installations are completely operational and ready to be used if required. Well, apart from this, all equipment and systems operational, ready and eager for any mission. Finally, let's listen in to what the Director General Air Force Operations said on the message from the Indian military using very strong imagery from the wealth of Indian literature.
तो मैं बस आपको रामचरितमानस की एक कुछ पंक्ति याद दिलाऊंगा, आप समझ जाएंगे। तो याद कीजिए वो पंक्ति जो है, विनय न माने जलधि जड़, भय 3 दिन बीत, बोले राम सकोप तब, भय बिन होए न प्रीत। तो समझदार के लिए इशारा ही काफी।
All right, to talk more on this and the success of Operation Sindoor, joining us live on the broadcast is Lieutenant General Subrata Saha, who is a former Deputy Chief of Army Staff and member of the National Security Advisory Board. Welcome to WION, Lieutenant General Saha.
Thank you.
Lieutenant General Saha, the Indian Armed Forces have laid bare with evidence, with proof, how they have defended India during Pakistan attacks, including destroying the Turkish drones and the Chinese PL15 missiles. How significant is this milestone for the Indian Armed Forces?
Well, of course, it's a very significant milestone, as you put it. And I would actually, I think my friend Marshal Bharti put it so well, and it says it all. Well, but I think in order to just break it down, I think the great success has been, A, how we were able to penetrate, I would say quite easily, the air defense system of the Pakistanis, which was primarily built out of, shall we say, the Chinese, systems, as it were, and strike at some very high value, very sensitive targets, which ultimately brought them down to their knees, seeking for a ceasefire. The third thing is to be able to, get at the entire length and breadth of the country and tell them that you cannot get away, anywhere. So we are capable of striking at any corner. And fourth, last but not the least, is by a combination of whatever Pakistan is, producing and whatever they have got from Turkey. We are all aware of the number of C-130s that landed in the run-up to whatever was happening, and whatever they have got from Chinese in terms of drones and whatever missiles they have manufactured with the help of Chinese or imported from there. None of them were able to penetrate our air defense systems, which was quite beautifully explained today by the DG Military Operations General Rajiv Ghai through that chart, multi-layered. And in fact, he gave an analogy from cricket to explain that you cannot penetrate this. And as I think all the three DG operations today brought out, that this is a evolutionary process and they are going to keep improving upon it, because now that they have shown some of their cards, I'm sure they are wise enough to also inform everybody, as they did, that we are going to continue to stay ahead of the curve to take up the next challenge. Because mind you, the next challenge has been spelled out very clearly in the policy of the government, that any act of terror is going to be hereafter dealt with as an act of war, which clearly implies that we have to have the capability of very swift retaliation, and again, retaliation at any corner of Pakistan, from wherever the whole business of terrorist activities are being, managed, handled, perpetrated, or whatever you want to call it. So I would put it that way.
Right, General Saha. Apart from that very strong message that India will retaliate to any violation by Pakistan, another very strong message that has been given out loud and clear is that Operation Sindoor was a fight against terrorism and not against the Pakistani military. How do you read that?
See, I think that we had made it clear right from the very beginning. If you recall the Ministry of Defense press release that came out at 1:44 a.m., we were very categoric to state that we have targeted terrorist infrastructure. Those 9 targets, 3 of them most significant, i.e. Bhavalpur going south to north, Bhavalpur, Muridke, both of them headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed and headquarters of the LET at Muridke, and Muzaffarabad, which is like a hub, training camps, number of them, and a kind of a large launch base, if you will, from where multiple terrorist groups get launched into India. So we targeted these 3 plus 6 others, very specific, very precise targeting. Some slides were shown today and in the previous DG Air Operations briefing on how precisely, not only did we not engage military targets, we did not have any collateral damage. And in that message that came out at 1:44 a.m., we are very categoric to state that we have not engaged any military targets. And why did we put out that message in our MOD press release? It was more to tell, in my view, tell Pakistan that should you choose to escalate, friends, we are going to come after your military targets. And Pakistan did precisely that. They came after our military installation. So what India had no choice but to get back and give it so strongly against the Pakistani military targets that they had to pay a price for it. And in that one, what did they lose? The major air defense system in Lahore, and another one in next to their general headquarters in Rawalpindi. After that, Pakistan dared to again come and strike at multiple locations with drones. All those drone attacks failed, and by that time, India has had enough. And then they got after these, multiple air bases and those sensitive targets that I had alluded to a little earlier in my in this interaction just now.
Right, of course, there's been minimum damage to India and very little collateral damage. Your last thought on how Operation Sindoor perhaps was a spectacular display of coordination between the Indian Army, Navy and the Air Force.
That's again a wonderful point which you raise. I think it was an absolutely spectacular coordination which was there between all the 3 services. I must also highlight here, it was not only all the 3 services, in fact, between multiple ministries. You could see how wonderfully synchronized the briefings were between the Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Defense, and also all the other agency briefings that were taking place, for example, coordinated by the Ministry of Home Affairs, and even with the state governments. If you saw the synchronization that was happening with the civil defense activities and the entire range of activities with the intelligencies, with the various, central armed police forces that the Ministry of Home Affairs was doing. So I think it was an absolutely, as they say, whole of government and whole of nation coordination that was taking place that we saw. In fact, the way the entire country rose up to the occasion, absolutely united in this event. And I think it's going to be a great inspiration for the future generations and for any future challenges that comes in the way of our country.
Right, General Saha. Thank you so much for joining us here on WION and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.